is morning. It's about 8 a.m. I got a few hours sleep last night. Decided to stop in Prince Albert and just get a room there rather than try to drive to Saskatoon, where I would have arrived about 2 in the morning and just no. Anyhow, had a wonderful evening. Chatted with hopefully a new friend I've made. We'll find out. But just recording this to kind of check in after the Sundance this year. The first time I went to Sundance, I just watched. I was taken by my mentor and amazing friend, and she gifted me with an invitation to come and watch her and her daughter Sundance. And it was so amazing to see this sacred prayer journey. I knew before it was even done that I needed to start Sundancing to heal. So the next year I came out, and Sundancing isn't easy in general, but when you're carrying a lot of trauma and healing it, it's harder, a little bit harder. It's hard to keep your mindset in a positive way when you're putting your body through so much suffering for 4 days. The first year, I made it through the first day. If you could call it making it, I collapsed in the arbor with grief. And I was told about this later, and that's when I remembered it as well. As I was being told, I could see it happening and remembering it actually happened. It was one of the most amazing, life-changing events ever. The elders and supporters that were running the Sundance were quite aware I was struggling, more aware than even I was. I knew I was struggling, but I figured it was part of the journey, which, yes, it is. I just didn't realize how heavy the load I was carrying was. Because you're always told, everyone goes through this, everyone suffers with it. Well, if everyone does it and you can't, it's a way of making you feel like you're less than. And I'm so sick of that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. When things got really bad, they came to me and told me to hit the ground, get on the ground and start screaming. You don't do that. I've been socialized to not scream. But with help and support, I started screaming my pain out. And all of my Sundance brothers and sisters cried and screamed with me. And the eagles were circling overhead screaming as well. Anyhow, I don't know how, but somehow I got back on my feet and finished the round and just felt like I was in a fog. And they pulled me out immediately and took me for healing. Can't even describe what that was like. To say it was the most amazing, life-changing event in my life doesn't even touch it. It really doesn't. It almost trivializes what happened. And when I awoke, not that I was actually asleep, but when I awoke from that part of my journey and got back to dancing, my Sundance sister was there to welcome me back with open arms. All of them were, honestly, but she was so attentive and caring and letting me know this was okay. And it was a profound experience for her to see this happen. Anyhow, I finished dancing that day with emptiness, but not bad emptiness. It's where I carried grief for, I couldn't even tell you how long. I couldn't tell you how long the grief has been there, but it's gotten extremely heavy. And I didn't know how to get it out, and they helped me get it out and release it.
Continue on Highway 11.
And the emptiness was a good emptiness. It was an area of me that was so filled with pain and hurt and weighed me down. Suddenly there's no more weight there. And I knew it was open to new, anything new that I was willing to be open to experience. But I also knew that kind of healing was so incredibly hard on my body, both mentally and physically. I felt like I was dragging my Sundance brothers and sisters down. I'm not good at asking for help. And everyone else was bonding and connecting and enjoying the experience, and I just couldn't function. So I left. I prayed on it for a few hours and a few rounds, but in the end decided to leave the Sundance, and my amazing mentor was on the grounds. She hadn't joined in the Sundance itself yet, so she stepped in to retrieve my pipe for me at the end of the day and send me off with a big hug, make sure I was okay. I wasn't traveling alone. I had Lulu and Tracy as traveling companions, and I needed to be with them while I healed. And honestly, after that event, my entire life in the real world changed. I stopped making excuses for why I allowed people to hurt me and treat me as less than. I immediately retired from a very toxic workplace. The workplace at one time was incredibly supportive and amazing, but it became incredibly toxic over COVID and got worse after I lost my husband. I was made to feel less than because I was grieving. Oh, well, I lost my mother too. I know it hurts, but you need to get over it and get back to work. There's no getting over grief. You just learn to live with it. You grow around it. It takes time for growth. It's not going to happen immediately. You need to be patient with it and honor it. Sit with it so that you can come out the other side healthier and stronger and grieving to the positive side of grieving, because it is there. I can remember my husband now. I talk about him and to him all the time. I miss having him in the physical world, but I know I'm not alone as I feel. I know I'm not alone. Anyhow, figured after this life-changing and altering event, I was honored to undergo it. I figured it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I felt so privileged to have undergone it and had such amazing support around me while I did. And then I prepared the next year for the next Sundance, knowing it was going to be hard on my body. But I was excited to go, knowing the wonderful, amazing things that can happen at Sundance. And although this video was a check-in from this year's Sundance, I guess I felt the need to go over last year. And this video is long enough, so I'll start another one on this year.